Hi everyone, Nick here. Today we're going to talk about turning a stock tank into a swimming pool. This is an 8-foot stock tank. I got this at Tractor Supply. They run usually a little bit over $500 at the current time. It is expensive, however, when you compare it to the price of a normal pool, it's not that expensive. So this I hauled it on my 5.5-foot truck bed with some straps. You know, if you really want to be cautious, you could maybe rent a U-Haul or a trailer to pull behind. However, you can get it on the back of a 5.5-foot bed. You just have to strap it down pretty good. So I've already started, as you could probably tell. What I wanted to do was I wanted to put a rust protective coat on it first. So I purchased this Rust-Oleum. It's both a prime and a paint cover, but it protects against rust. And so I put on the inside, you could tell I got an aqua blue color, and I put about 3 coats of aqua blue on the inside. That's why it looks so nice and shiny blue. And then on the outside, I use this clear coat just to give it some protection. Now it's probably overkill because I'm going to use a liner that I purchased off of Amazon to go into the pool and cover all that anyways. But I wanted just a little bit of extra protection because I've seen some videos on YouTube where their tanks have just rusted out because of the chlorine. And so even though I'm using a liner and it's a pretty thick liner, I did want to have this extra protection barrier on the inside. So we'll get started with our assembly in just a second. Okay everyone, I've allowed the pool to dry for a couple days after coating it with that Rust-Oleum. So it's been out in the sun for a good 2+ days. So the next step in the process for me was to drill in what I call the intake valve hole. So the water will come out of the pool into the pump, and then I'm going to actually use a waterfall that comes back up this way. Some folks actually put a separate hole to push the water back in, after circulating through the filter pump. So I decided not to put too many holes in the pool, so but your choice. So what I did was I went out to the nearest hardware store and I purchased what's called a 2 3/4, I don't know if you can see this, 2 3/4 inch hole saw. So this one I think was around $25. It comes with the internal bit as well, so it actually gives you like a pilot hole. So the key that I found, my drill isn't very powerful, but the key is to, once you get that initial pilot hole drilled, as soon as the red part of the bit starts touching the metal, go very slow with very light pressure, and it takes a minute to start scratching the metal. So I found that this particular drill isn't strong enough to just punch through, so I kept it spinning, just going very slowly, scratching the metal, and then after it scratched it for a while, I put a little bit more pressure, and so eventually it finally punched through. But that was the key for me, using this not very strong drill. So it punched out what looks like this. I then took just a sanding block and kind of smoothed out the edges on the inside, and then I put another coat of the clear coat Rust-Oleum. I just sprayed it around the edges because once you scratch that galvanized metal, it loses its strength or galvanization. So I sprayed another small coat of Rust-Oleum around the inside of that ring. Okay, so the next step is to decide whether or not you want a pool liner. Now I've seen videos of folks doing this without a pool liner, and what happens over time, especially if you use chlorine, is the pool will start to rust out. Now of course they didn't use Rust-Oleum. Some folks use an epoxy paint. Even still, I like the feel of a liner more so than the metal feel. So you might be able to get away with not using a liner. The liner I bought was a little pricey. It was like 150 bucks or something like that. But I do like the look and feel of the liner, and it'll protect the metal. So again, it's overkill that I put the Rust-Oleum on, but it's just a little extra protection, because I hope to have this pool for a long time. So for me, the next step is to put in the pool liner, and then I'll of course cut a hole through the pool liner for this intake valve. So for those of you not using a liner though, what you would do is you would buy this kit, and one of these actually comes with the pump, but this, if you're gonna do both an intake and outtake, you need this extra kit as well. So it comes with a bunch of pieces, and by default it has the output basket on it. So what you do is you just unscrew that one, and for my intake I put just this intake basket on top, so like that. And so then again, for those of you who are just going to use the bare metal, you want the rubber gasket to be up against the metal. So you would slide this through like so. Then you would take your ring. You want to make sure this, you can see this hole here, there's another valve that you put on that, so you want to make sure that's facing up, and then you would just screw that on and tighten it. Again though, I'm going to put my liner in first before I do that. So next I'll show you all the liner I bought and how I installed it. Okay everyone, so with the assistance of my wife, I was able to put in this Smart Line pool liner. So this is an 8-foot around 25 gauge liner. This particular color and pattern was around, I think it was like $189, but there are a few that are a little bit cheaper. The reason I went with this one, there's other ones that you can get that are cheaper. I mean, some people even bought like cheap like kiddie pools and used that as a liner inside of it, but I heard horror stories about that. So this one, I've heard good reviews, and to be honest with you, I can agree with that. You can see, I'll get closer, it has a line exactly where the 8-foot mark is in circumference, so it goes all the way around, and it perfectly lines up with the stock tank. So you know, if you can line that line up with the edge of the stock tank, you're in good shape. Now as far as flattening out the bumps and everything, I've seen different methods on YouTube. Some people actually put the water in and flatten it out, and then they cut their hole for the valves. I don't think I want to do that. So what I'm going to try to do is get this line, right on edge, with maybe a little slack, and then I'm going to poke through a hole where my valve is, and I'm just going to put a little X there, and I'm going to pop in my intake valve, and after I do that, that's when I will I plan to cut off the excess. I plan to use zip ties, the heavy duty ones, all the way around towards the top, and so you'll still see the metal. You'll have a little bit of overlap of the liner, but it'll be secured with zip ties, and then I'll tighten everything down and show you what it looks like afterwards. But yeah, this is the liner, and you can see how it looks. I think it looks nice. There's several different patterns. I particularly like this one though. So next we will I'll cut the hole in, install the valve, and then we'll start talking about the pump and setting that up. Okay, just real quick, I went ahead and cut the hole in my liner, and I pushed through the basket. You can see right here I've got the basket in. Of course, once the water's in, this will all flatten out, and all the wrinkles will be gone. But so I've got that hand tight. This is plastic, so you don't want to really use any tools. Once I get the water in, I will check to see if there's any leaks. If there are, I bought some silicone caulk that I'll put around here, probably both on the inside and the outside. But just wanted to quickly show you what it looks like. I also put on this, I think they call it a purge valve or something, or trickle valve. So I screwed that little thing in. That was part of that kit I bought. And then this is, I think they call them plunge valves. So this just basically is a water cutoff. So I installed that. Yep, so next I will assemble my pump and show you how I did that. Okay, outside of the kit I showed you a minute ago, here's some of the additional things I purchased for my stock tank pool. This was the Smart Line liner that you saw inside the pool. This is the caulk that I purchased in case there's any leaks around that inlet valve. So this is the one that was recommended. Again, I'll put descriptions and links for everything I'm showing here. So this is the actual filter pump. So I'll unbox that in a second. Now, I recommend getting a second plunger valve because the pump does not include one. So I bought the kit, which you saw earlier, that had a plunger valve in it. And then I bought a second plunger valve. So I got one plunger valve on the inlet, so if I want to shut off the water there. And then I'm going to put this plunger valve all the way at the end of the outlet. So it's good to have, you know, multiple ways to shut off the water flow if you need to. Now these other pieces are not necessary unless you're going to install an inline hot water heater. So this is the inline hot water heater I bought. And because of the diameter of the fittings, there's some additional adapters you need. So these three right here. So when I hook up the hot water heater, I'll show you how I assemble everything. But if you're not going to install an inline hot water heater, you can ignore these three fittings and the hot water heater. So what I intend to do is, I already have my inlet valve. I'm going to run the pipe that you see there in through the filter. It will go out in through this water heater, and on the other side it'll go out through this pipe. And instead of putting another hole in the pool, I'm going to run it up to this waterfall. So that is the plan. Okay, so let's just take a quick look at inside the actual pump and filter itself. So you can see here you got your pump. You've got two hoses. If you go online, some people were complaining that this didn't come with a filter, and they were upset about that. But if they would have actually just opened it up, the filter came inside. So there is a filter included. I actually bought some extra ones, but it does come with a filter, so you can ignore those comments on Amazon. Additionally, it comes with another basket. This one's you know, an outlet basket, and that's why I bought the kit, because it had the inlet basket. So this is to push water out. It's a jet, so to speak. Whereas the kit has the one for the to bring the water into the pump. So this is an additional one. If you want to put two holes in your stock tank, you could run the water after it goes through the filter, run it right back into the tank, just to circulate the water. That's a possibility because you have this now. I've seen people don't put any holes in the stock tank. They just run these hoses directly into the pool itself. So there's that method, and then the method I'm using is I have the one hole, and then it's going to run up to this waterfall. Yep, so again, the filter pump comes with the filter, the two hoses, and this one basket. So let me get everything assembled and we'll go from there. Okay, I have the pool filled now. I just wanted to show a few things before I do the pump. But I put this is actually pipe warmer. I put this right here. I might put it all the way around, but the reason I put it there is because I use these really large industrial zip ties. I got them at my local hardware store, and I put them all the way around just to secure the liner. And I then cut off a lot of that liner because that liner was going all the way down, so there was a lot of excess liner. So I tightened it on with those zip ties as best I could, and then I put that thing over it to kind of hide it, and I'll probably do it all the way around. So if any of you are wondering what that's for, that's what it's for. All right, so in the last video, I actually had the pipe hooked up the wrong way, so the inlet is actually this side, and the outtake is on this side. So just keep that in mind, because if you try it the other way, it's not going to pump water. So I have the water flowing in, and I made sure that I have water in here because you do not want to turn on a pump without having water in here because it can burn out the motor. So there is water in here, there's a filter in here. The filter just sets on like a little circle thing, so nothing fancy about that. I tightened it down by hand. So this here is an air check valve. So what you want to do is when you first get it going is loosen this. Probably hear the air coming out. So you want to let the air flow until you start seeing water drip out of it. And sometimes you have to lift up the whole pump and set it back down for the air to kind of make its way out. But you hear it's whistling now, so it'll start to, water will start to come out. I might have to lift it up and set it back down, but you should see little driplets of water coming out of it, and then you just tighten it down. Not super tight, just hand tight. Okay, so then I attached my waterfall. So again, this waterfall, it only came with like 3 pieces. So this whole section, this connects to the head. You just screw that on. And then this blue piece slides through, and you just screw these on as tight as you need them. Now it's kind of loose on stock tank pools, so I need to get a piece of rubber or something to put on there because it doesn't quite properly seat on stock tank pools. So yeah, and then there's on the bottom here, you can pull this out, and there's an LED light. So very simple to work. There is a circle here. You just turn that to the left. It's kind of tough, so you have to use something a little strong. I used like a piece of steel or something, and I just turned it. And there's like 3 AA batteries you just slide in there. And once you do, you can turn them on and off with this button here. So yeah, this just slides back in. Just slide it back in. You gotta get it the right way. There it goes. So that just pops back in, and it's good to go. All right, so I'm going to turn the pump on now, and let's watch it flow. I'm going to tilt it until I get that rubber piece in. As you can see, I might have to go back and tighten some of my fittings because you can tell the pressure isn't great. And again, you can check the air pressure. So let me loosen this. You can kind of hear it letting out the air. All right, there. Yep, see the water coming out? All right, so that means the air is out of the system. Tighten that up, and actually you can see now the flow is stronger because that air is not in the system. But yeah, that is the complete setup of just the pump and the stock tank pool. I have a little cheap floater I got on Amazon. It was the cheapest one they had, and I put 3 chlorine tablets in it, and I have it turned to just the 2 sitting. You can see there's 2 slots. So I'm gonna let this run for about an hour tonight, just to circulate the water a bit, and then tomorrow I'll run it before the kids get in it. But yeah, it turned out pretty nice.